Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is for you. I'm Cyclone. It's time for a new route on Let's Play Train Simulator Classic. We're going to look at, I'm going to butcher this, the Pegnitztalbahn today. The Pegnitztalbahn, I believe is how you say that. Pegnitztalbahn, I missed the T in there. Something like that. Anyway, the more important detail is that this is the Nuremberg to Bayreuth route. And I'm noticing a lot of scenarios. If I go scrolling down the list here, you see 65, 65, 65, 70, 70, 55, 70. So these scenarios are all pretty much route-long runs, I believe in all of them from beginning to end. I believe they all seem to start at the same two starting locations and ending at the same two ending locations. The exception seems to be this one, which goes to Neuhaus, or Neuhaus, however you say that. But the rest of them all seem to have Bayreuth and Nuremberg as the... Oh, and also number 6 seems to have the Advanced Train Lab as a service. So that is a possible difference as well, going to Nuremberg. So all stations go via the main station at the south terminus. 5 of them go via Bayreuth. So this is a route that seems to have scenarios covering pretty much the entire route all the way throughout the scenario list. That's actually really good for play purposes. Now, how good are the scenarios? I'm going to start to find out today, but because these scenarios are all very, very similar, and again, 4 of the scenarios are all the same route. Look at scenario 1, Nuremberg to Bayreuth. Number 3, Bayreuth to Nuremberg. 5, Nuremberg to Bayreuth. 7, Bayreuth to Nuremberg. They're all the same basic scenario, so it will be interesting to see how they play differently. At the same time, though, because they are all the same basic route, I'm not going to go rushing through this entire route scenarios all at once like I tend to do sometimes, because I don't think there's enough variation to stay on it all in one shot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do at least the first 2 scenarios, and apparently this is one of the hardest ones, but I'm going to try and do the first 2 scenarios, see if I can get those done. And after that, I might do the third one right away as well. And after that, I'm going to probably do something else again for a while. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I don't think I want to do all of them yet, because I don't suspect there's going to be enough variety to do them over a 2-week period. So I think I'm going to do 3 now. I might split it up and do 2 or the remaining 4 all in another week or 2 weeks. So I am going to split that up. I don't know what I'm going to do next week yet. I'll figure that out later. But for right now, I do want to show you the route today, and that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to hop into the BR612. It looks like we're using the A model in all cases where it's in a scenario. And then we're going to have a 648 scenario in the middle of that as well. So we'll look at the ICT another time because we've seen that train before. In any case, let's hop into the route and let's see what this route looks like. Good morning, driver. Please set up your train and allow passengers to board here at Nuremberg, HBF, before your departure time of 9:38. It should be an easy run through the valley today to Bayreuth with no issues reported on the line. Let's see how long that lasts. So we're going to have to do a setup procedure for this train. I'll open the doors in the meantime, so you're going to see that I have the doors running. Our departure time is 9:38, so we have time to poke around the cab here. I'm going to show you a couple things for right now that are of interest. We'll tour the train another time because I want to show you the main thing we need to worry about today, which is the startup procedure. If we zoom in here, and by the way, you're going to notice there's no... Oh, they have an extra cab view. Okay, last time I played this, there was no additional cab view. So now I can actually look around the cab safely and set that back when I want to. So let's go ahead and zoom down here and take a look at the buttons here, because there's one important button that we need to look at for the startup procedure, and that is this one. You're going to see that it says power on off. We need to switch that to an on position. I hope that's the on position. I'm not sure which one is the on position. If I'm wrong, I'll find out later. Then we have to head over to this side. Now you can actually set this, because this is an on-off switch. This is the brake key. I've gone ahead in my thing and I've set it to a K, which just turns that on. So I actually use my keyboard because I set up a K in my key bindings to turn that on. It does not come, I don't believe, with the K key binding, so you will have to set that yourself if you want to assign a key binding to it, and it will then operate to your key binding. That is something you can do by extracting the key binding file, the input mappers, and just creating a new entry. Give it whatever number you need to that's above the other ones, preferably a little bit above it, and assign it key K and assign it to the proper module. I'll see if I can set... I'll give you some sample text in the description of the video that would work to set that up if you want to turn that into an on-off switch. So I will give you something to help with that if I remember. In the meantime, we have a green signal. We just have to wait for our permission to leave. And once we have our permission to leave, we're going to be good to go. So the main things here, I'm going to give you a full tour at a later time, but the main things to look at, of course, we have the regular reverser. We have the throttle and dynamic brake. And somewhere on the other side of the cab here, we have another switch that is the train brake. Obviously, the AZB buttons are here as well. I don't use them, so we're not going to be... or PZB, sorry. I don't use them, so we're not going to look at them too much. These screens show a lot of information, which I don't really know what some of it is. So I'll give you a full tour another time when I'm looking at the actual manual to give you that full tour. For right now, let's go outside and look at the train. Let's see how this thing runs, shall we? We have an increased power, so basically that means we're going to move our power up. And you have to hold that up to gain power on the train. So when you let it get back, it's going to hold your power level. When you move the control to lower it, it's going to decrease your power level. So this is not a throttle. This is a continual application of power. Leaving Nuremberg, our first stop is Neuhaus. I'm going to go ahead and decrease power. I'm going to actually turn it off for right now. We'll just do a minimal increase of power. Until we get out of this 40, in which case we're going to be able to fully increase the power once again to get a very good burst of speed. But for right now, we are limited at 40. We are on the southern end of the route. This is the part that connects to the Nuremberg to Regensburg. I know I'm saying that wrong, but sorry, not German. So it does connect theoretically to that route, but obviously our route ends at Nuremberg. We are still in a 40, so I'm not going to have any increase in speed limit yet. I have to turn my power off for right now. I've actually put it on a decrease setting and left it on the decrease setting, but I'm going to leave it on hold now that I've done that. So hopefully I'm going to be able to hold power for the time being. Let's look at our stop time. We have to stop at 10:06 at Neuhaus, 10:18 at Pegnitz. We're going to be doing some car dropping off at Pegnitz. Then we're going to continue to Schnabelwaid, Creußen, that's a double S, remember, Creußen, and then Bayreuth. We have to be there at 10:42. So this is an hour plus journey. So I think the timetable allows us to arrive a little bit early so we can actually relax for a minute or so. I can increase power in the meantime to 80, so let's do that. In fact, our ETA right now is 9:58, and we're not supposed to be there till 10:06. So this gives us a lot of time. Either that or we're going to lose a lot of time along this journey. I'm not sure which case it is, but one of those is going to hold true. Now you can notice that we have a combined throttle. We can actually have a brake in here on the combined throttle. I've been finding that brake didn't seem to work very well the one time I tried it. It did work once, and it didn't work the second time. So I've determined I'm going to use the regular brake over here, that green one that says running. That's the brake I'm probably going to use for my braking when I need to come to a quick stop. Since we can't hold a throttle level on this route, holy cow, wait a minute. Where are we? No, we're still 48 kilometers away. Never mind. I saw this next Nuremberg OST, and I was a little confused for a moment. We got a lot of stations coming up here. We're going to be going 100 through the Nuremberg OST platform. Now we're going to try to apply a minimum amount of power so we don't lose too much speed. That is my current objective. And that works nicely. Increase a wee bit more. We can always decrease it a little bit. We're going up to 110 anyway, so I definitely want to increase now. Notice that when you go to increase power, you have to hold it down, by the way. It drops right back down into the hold power if you release the button. But decrease power, I think it does stay in decreased power. It doesn't throttle back up. I want to actually increase power now anyway because I'm coming into a 110. And further up ahead, we have a 140, you can see. I've already lost 3 minutes. That's promising. Coming up on Nuremberg, Erlenstegen. Now we're entering the 140, so time for some fast train driving. So I don't know how high you can increase that power, but I think I've probably gotten to the max level now, so I'm just going to kind of hold it here. I'm going to move it to decrease as I get into the 130s, and I'll just inch it up from there. Each stop is worth 167 points, so the point scores are around what I would expect them to be. Okay, I'm going to decrease a little more because I'm getting close to the limit. I can increase again because we're dropping. We're on a little bit of an uphill, so that is perfectly fine. Up again. We are at high speed, so I guess we do need more throttle to maintain speed at this point. So we're going to try to get our speed back up around closer to 138. Bayringersdorf platform is coming up. Oh, I didn't want to decrease that much speed. Whoops. We are still losing time on our ETA. This is concerning me. We have 40 kilometers to go. At our current speed, we are going more than 2 kilometers in every minute. So, 20 minutes from now, I don't think we're going to stay 140 the entire way, so I shouldn't get too comfortable. There, we managed to move the power up another notch here. So yeah, if we maintain this speed all the way, we are going to be there in plenty of time. If we get dropped like I expect we're going to be, we're going to have a little bit more time to make up here. We're going to be driving some of these other train services during these scenarios as well, so definitely look forward to seeing those at some point. I didn't bring up the list of all the trains in this scenario because I want to get this first video out for you, so I don't know what all the different trains are right now. Given we are on a diesel line that does at some point become a single track, I don't expect too much AI. Only down on this southern end of the route. On the northern end, I suspect we're going to lose a little bit of AI. So I took a throttle notch off because I was dropping to 130, or I was up at 138, and I don't want to get too close to the speed limit. I can go 140, but it doesn't mean I have to. I dropped back to 135. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be moving the throttle power up and down. By the way, we just passed a platform whose name disappeared from my screen. And I'm going to have to increase the level again because I'm now down to 134 for me. Actually, never mind. There's a 130 coming. So I've turned it off for right now anyway. We're going to be coming up on Lauf platform, and the 130 is after Lauf platform. So I'm going to go ahead and hold my power at 130 for the time being. Maybe 129, just to make sure I don't speed. So my level is already down. I'm losing a slight amount of time on my ETA. This is alright. I think we can tolerate this. So I've applied a little power to attempt to maintain speed, hopefully not break any speed limits. The power looks like it took hold because I seem to be holding at 129 for the time being. So this is the aforementioned Lauf platform. Now we're crossing right back into the 140. Increasing power again to get our speed back up where it should be. Nuremberg platform is coming up in the distance, going by platform number 3. So it looks like there are 4 platforms there. Definitely at least 3 platforms. Gonna take a little notch off the power there, just to test where I am. 136, take another notch off. And now I need to take a little more off. I hit 139, so I'm going to take a few notches off this time. That gets me down to 138. I'm where I want to be. At Nuremberg platform, we are now about 30 kilometers from our stop. Well, 30 and a half kilometers from our stop at Neuhaus. We're hitting a little bit of an uphill, so I'm applying a little more power now to maintain the uphill. As you can see, it is a challenge to maintain your speed limit in the train. You're going to be constantly going a little bit under the speed limit, but this is perfectly fine. It's better than speeding and losing points. So your only goal is to be on time at the station stops, and that's about it. As long as there's a little bit of wiggle room in the timetable, then it should still hopefully be possible. Keeping in mind that in a regular scenario, you would actually outright fail if you didn't do this. Now, given the length of these scenarios, if I don't get a perfect run, I'm probably not going to try too much to fix it or do anything to deal with it. So we're going to see what happens here. Hopefully I get a perfect run. I may not. If there's an achievement that requires 1,000 points, I am going to make sure I give you a perfect run at some point in one of these scenarios. I actually wish there were 1 or 2 smaller scenarios that only covered a portion of the route, but I don't know if there are actually any services that would go on and off the route like that to that extent. I haven't studied this route in full detail yet, so I'm not sure all the services here. I think a lot of scenarios on this route are going to literally just be the ones you see in these scenarios. So I think we've covered most of the, I'm sure much of the scenario utility has been covered here. We're going to be decreasing to 110, so as you can see, I'm turning the power off on the throttle right now. I will need to apply some brakes in a moment. probably didn't need to drop the speed right away, but I did. So the 110 is coming up. We're coming up to Hersbruck. We're going to have a 130 again right after that. Brakes are decreasing on a 1A brake application. It is actually nice for what we're doing for a speed limit drop. I'm going to try and let it coast on its own down the rest of the way. I don't think it's going to work, but I'm trying. We were on a 2.5 uphill gradient for a moment, so it was working for us. And I'm just going to make sure I get it down the rest of the way myself, because I think I'm going to need to. So there we are, 110. And we're down under 109, so that's where I want to be right now. I can drop just a little under that and reapply power. Okay, power now. So Hersbruck platform is right here. Entering at 130 right now. I'm going to start increasing power now. And we are going back up to 130 now. Going to slow the rate of increase at this point. Try to control my speed well enough here. I need to really drop it. You see we have a 120 coming up, so I don't want to get too comfortable. I'm going to actually turn the throttle back off for now. We now only have about 3 minutes of wiggle room here, so we are kind of starting to hit a crunch here in our timing. Indeed, at our current speed, we would still be there with time to spare, because we're still going 2 kilometers a minute even as we enter this 120 speed limit. So we would still be there with time to spare, but it is getting a little bit tighter now. You can see Hohenstadt in the distance. We are dropping under 120. Going to give it a tiny brake application to make sure we get under there for good. And as we hit 118, I'll put a minimal brake or throttle application on, rather, power application. And being my first time running the line here, I'm wondering if this is actually the top speed we have for the remainder of this journey. Because I don't think we're going to get 140 on the diesel line that we're going to be taking. I just don't think we're going to be. So 115 now. Here comes Hohenstadt right now. Just about another 1/10 of a mile away, and we're going to be there. Well, it was 2/10 when I said that. There we are. Hitting an uphill, so I'm going to put a little bit of power back on to make sure we don't lose too much speed. Maybe even gain a little bit if we're lucky. I'm maintaining very nicely right now. I think I found a bit of a sweet spot right now. There is a 110 coming up, so again, I can't get too comfortable. I am going to have to turn my throttle off and let the uphill, the 4.1 uphill, or the 4.1 uphill, actually now it's decreasing, so I might actually start gaining speed again. Now a 2.7 uphill. I'm going to have to let this gradient do a little work to slow me down. I'm going to get a little bit closer to the sign first. We're 1 3/4 kilometers away from that sign. I think in about a kilometer I'll throw my throttle off. You can see Vora platform coming up. I didn't do what I said I was going to do. I'm going to have to hit the brakes here. I was a bit late on that dropping the throttle, so I will need some brakes. And a little more. There we go. That's what I want to see. 110. So far, this is proving to be very smooth. I honestly was not expecting it to be this smooth. I'm pleasantly surprised at how smooth this is behaving right now. I did not mean to lose that much power, but I did. Vora just passed us, by the way. I think I might have mentioned that earlier. If I didn't, there it is. We passed it. There is a 100 coming up. We are now, by the way, about 10.5 kilometers from Neuhaus. So we're starting to get into the area where we need to start paying attention to what we're going to be doing at our stop. Now, I don't have the name of the tunnel coming up. I will try and get it for you if I find information during the editing process. I'll try and add that information for you. I didn't want to lose that much power yet. What is going on? Increase power for now, please. We will turn it back off. Supposedly, we only have about a minute of wiggle room left, so we are starting to get a little tight. I am starting to have a little bit of concern for our arrival time. Now let's turn the throttle off. And a little brake application. I don't think my headlights are on. Well, they had to be. Gonna take a quick peek at the front of the train here, make sure my headlights are indeed on. They're not on anymore. I think they were. I'm not sure. There they are. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. We got our headlights. And there's a nice little view of the train as we go through the countryside there. Lovely, lovely. Actually, we should get the a screenshot with all that in the distance. That's probably a better screenshot. So there you go. There you go. And bring that back up. As we enter a 110 and a 120, I already knew those were higher numbers, so I knew we were okay to get that screenshot. Again, I'll get you information on this tunnel. I didn't even see the tunnel coming up. Wasn't paying attention, obviously. We see multiple tunnels here. We're getting a warning for a clear signal on the distance signal, so we are fully green up ahead. This is useful information. You can see that we are at Ruprechtstegen. So I made it up to 118 of my 120 limit. I'm going to stay here as much as I can right now because I am getting very, very close on the timing. I need to stay close to the speed limit for right now. It looks like the timing does cut you back quite a bit as you go here. So you can't tarry even if you even with that 8-minute advantage that you seem to start with. You can't tarry. You have to really... Oh, I have to decrease a little bit. You have to make sure you use every second you get. Here is Velden platform coming up. That's about 1.5 kilometers away. Gonna go ahead and turn the throttle off now. And this time I will use a stronger brake to get my speed down in time. Not much stronger, but it is stronger. So we're now passing Velden. I have the ability to see my decimals at this point, so I can see exactly what my speed is doing. So I'm trying to get a level where I can increase just slightly, but you know what? We're not going to worry too much about that because Neuhaus is the next station. For right now, I'm okay holding, and I'm getting a stronger brake application as we get closer to Neuhaus. We might have a distance signal telling us to slow down to 40 as well. Let's see if that is indeed the case. Green signal. The next one we're going to have to slow down anyway, though. I didn't want to do that. Okay, I got a little bit of a test as to how well the brakes work. That's good enough for now. I've seen what I need to see, and we're going to go ahead and plan our brake accordingly. I think we're going to be on time, guys. I think we're okay. Take the brakes off now a bit. Because I want to get to the end of the platform if I can. I'm down to 20, so I should be all right now. I think I'm okay. Let's go ahead and open the doors here. We've arrived at Neuhaus, platform number 2. We were barely on time. Alright, we're leaving Neuhaus. Our next stop is Pegnitz. We're going to bring our train up to fast speed as quickly as I can. As we get into the 90s, I'm going to shut it off and inch our way up from there. Or get towards 90, I should say, not into the 90s. Actually, once we get to 90, we're going to get to 100 after that anyway, because we actually have a 100 coming up. So we have a good number of kilometers to go here. I didn't mean to turn that right off, but actually it's probably better I did. There it is. Now we can inch up to 100. There is a 110 coming up. We're almost at 2 kilometers per minute here. Again, you can see the decimals at these speeds, so it's actually easy to figure out the exact throttle amount you need. It's a little bit harder when you're dealing with a 3-digit number without decimals. So there is benefit to seeing the decimal on a 3-digit number, and that would be a nice little enhancement that would be nice to see on the HUD, to include that decimal on a 3-digit number. It might require increasing the size of the circle just a little bit on the HUD, but I think that is acceptable. I don't see a problem with increasing the size of that just a wee bit to accommodate a slightly larger number. So that would be a nice welcome improvement, to be able to precisely monitor those 3-digit speeds by having the decimal visible. That would be a nice enhancement, I think, to allow us to fine-tune our speed with a train like this. Because when you're driving a train like this, you need to fine-tune the exact amount of power you need, and that would allow us to do that. And be able to properly maintain the speed we need for scenario scoring. Or just being on time. So our ETA shows us being a couple minutes early right now. That is going to change. At this speed, it'll probably take us about 7 minutes to get to our destination. And I'm sure we're going to get slowed down as we get there as well. Let's not keep too much power. We need to decrease it. In fact, since we are at 109, I will not be comfortable until I see that drop to 108. There we go. Little bit of increase now. This is why I wish we could fine-tune the decimal. Up. I'm very comfortable staying 2 kilometers under the speed limit at a 3-digit speed. That's a very comfortable place to be for scenario scoring purposes. The only question is whether the scenario timings take into account going the full speed limit, in which case it's a very dangerous place to be. In this case, I need to decrease a little. I hit 109, so now I should be able to put it back up. And up again. I'm still losing speed, so I need to actually increase a wee bit here. I think we're on a slight one, not anymore. We were on a slightly steeper gradient, but it's just gone shallow again. So I think I'm going to gain speed at this point. No, I'm losing speed. Interesting. Okay. I need to learn a little bit more about how the throttle affects the speed here. I need to see if it actually shows up on the displays on the computer in front of me. And if it does, I'm going to need to work out exactly how. Because seeing it at a certain level will kind of give me a good idea where I am in certain parts of the track. Oh, I thought that was a red signal for a second. No, that's just a red roof on a building. That actually scared me for a second. We're a little over 8 kilometers from Pegnitz. We will see what happens at Pegnitz. Right now we do have a green signal. I'm going to go ahead and reapply throttle here. I'm going too long at the 105 speed. That's concerning me a little bit now. If I hit 110, I have to bring the power right off to make... There it is. I have to bring it right off to make sure I don't speed. So off for a moment. We're going to go ahead and reapply power a little bit at a time here. I seem to be holding at 109, which is very interesting. There's the 108. I think right now I'm at a good holding level. As you see, the gradient keeps changing. It's kind of hard for me to point out a gradient because as soon as I do, it keeps changing. So this appears to be a very moving part of the landscape here. It doesn't stay at a certain gradient for very long. You're not immediately powering up and down a hill. You're getting various gradients as you move around. I would like to get up to 108 again. That would be nice. We are within 4 kilometers of our stop, so at this point we do... Oh, 106 is not a good speed for me right now. Would rather be a little higher there. Now, the reason I was saying that I'm looking at that time is I don't know if we're going to have a decrease in speed limit approaching the platform yet. We are now within 3 kilometers, so a minute and a half if we were going 120 would be the time frame. There is Pegnitz right there, so that tells me it is 2 minutes away. I think we're going to be on time. I don't see any change in speed limit coming up. This could be indicated by a distance signal in just a moment, though, and if so, we're going to have to really hit the brakes. Nope, it's all green. We're good. Fantastic so far here. So when I get to about a kilometer away, or actually a little over that, I'm going to start slowing down a little. Oh, I mean 110. Off we go. Off we go. There we go. That will do just fine. That could have been bad. Okay, a little bit of a brake application now. Not too much yet. 3 is enough. Now we're going to put on a 4. Yeah, we're definitely good for the stop. We just have to make sure we don't go too fast coming in, and we're good for the stop. Move it up to a 5 a little in advance of the platform. I think I got a feel for this brake now. I've got a feel for this. This is an abandoned part of the platform. We don't... disused, I should say. We don't use that part of the platform now. It looks like. So I was close to 30 coming in. That's exactly where I wanted to be. So I'm going to bring it down to a 1A brake so we get a small amount of slowdown. Other than that, I'm coasting to the end of the platform right now. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and do that for a moment. Can I get the full train in properly? Let's find out. Very, very tight, but might be possible. That's going to have to do. I don't think I can land it perfectly on the platform. One door may not open regardless. But we have arrived at Pegnitz, platform number 1. Okay, driver, please. Let's pause for a second here, actually. Okay, driver, please decouple our train from the rear 2 units bound for Hof HBF, and then proceed onwards to our next stop at Schnabelwaid, whichever that is. So I think this is the intersection part of the route. I'll bring up the map in a moment to show you as I speed up, but I believe this is the intersection part of the route that goes in 2 different directions. We take the northern path. The other train typically goes the other way. Now, we might actually be further along in the route than I remember. Maybe I'm actually wrong on my estimation here, but we'll find out in a moment when I look at the map. For now, I have to look at decoupling the train, so I'm going to go ahead and change my view to an 8 view. And let's go ahead and pop out here. So you can see that as I, whoops, close that. You can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the train arrived, by the way, 6, 7, 8. 8 cars. I think it said it wanted me to take off 4, so I believe the point I want to decouple is right around this point right here. I believe this is the point where I want to decouple. So I'm going to go ahead and just bring up the task for a second to make sure. So yes, it shows that I'm decoupling at Pegnitz platform, which is 0 meters away, and there are indeed 4 cars that need to be disconnected. So I'm going to actually bring up the coupling view. That seems easier. Just do it in the coupling view. So I'm going to go ahead and unpause. We're going to go ahead and decouple that. So I'm pausing in between steps because I want to show you what's going on as well. This is, of course, the first scenario. So decoupling is done. I've disconnected this train. That might not be the car I want to disconnect, but nonetheless, I've disconnected the train in question. And if I move forward, which I believe this is forward, yeah, that might be, yeah, I think that is the right one. I think that is indeed the correct train that I decoupled. So it had to be that one. That is the one I decoupled. So if we look underneath, I don't know if it's going to show us yet. But as we pull away, it will show us. I'm going to go ahead and inch forward once the decoupling is confirmed. So you can see that our task list shows we're going to arrive at our next stop at 10:26. Let's go ahead and start pulling away. And as I do, we're going to go ahead and leave this coupling view, or this back view up for a moment as we power away. And you can see that indeed it did work. The train bounced up a little as we came out. And we're on our way. Let's get going. So we're going to turn the coupling view off. We're going to head back in the cab. And we're on our way. So leaving Pegnitz, our next stop again is Schnabelwaid. Now we are less than 8 kilometers away, or around 8 kilometers away as we start that part of the journey, or this part of the journey I should say. Those cars aren't actually going to leave for Hof because AI don't know how to take over a train in this game, and that's fine. Train Sim World it can, but they can't in this game. We're not going to see it anyway, it doesn't matter. I didn't want to turn that off, that was a mistake. I wanted to lower the increase. I actually want to get up to 110 in a moment, but I had to lower the rate of increase so we didn't speed past 110. Trying that again now. Oh, I don't want to lose power. Let's keep going up. So I'm boosting the power up a little more because I think we're going to be able to move up quickly. So here we come up to a 120. Let's move the power up a bit more. We're looking really good for our arrival right now. Okay, let's start lowering my rate of speed increase here. Lower it again. Still lower. Thank you. So we're going to increase a little bit just to make sure we stay in a maintained position. I don't necessarily need to even be 2 kilometers under at this point because I think I've got a big enough gap that I can stay even lower. But I don't want to go too low right now. So we're going to try to maintain some speed. We are on a 6.0 uphill gradient, which is also affecting my calculation a little bit. Because that will definitely put some brakes on you. Without seeing exactly what level I'm at and not understanding yet completely how the gauges work, I'm actually feeling that yellow and red gauge is probably one I should be watching. Nope, doesn't seem like it. It's not doing anything. There is a 100 coming up before the platform, so I am going to want to shut this off. In fact, now might be a good time to do that. So we're going to have to slow down to well under 100 by that 100 anyway. We're getting a warning to something. All green, but we have an 8 ahead, so we're going to get ready for an 8. Brake. I caught the 8 there. That is by the signal. We should be good at this point. I'm just going to coast right... Actually, we need to be slowing down more anyway because we're coming up to the platform. So we're going to keep a minimal brake application for right now. We're going to be increasing that. The 8 must be for a spot further ahead. We must be taking a junction because 120 is still our limit right now. I'm comfortable at 60 for right now. So let's actually put that back to a running status. I'm down to 55. Lots of time. I have lots of time for this. We don't have to arrive till 10:26. So I'm actually going to put even more brakes on. Why not? We can come in slowly. There's the 80 we saw further back. By the way, when we left the previous station, you might have noticed that I had a sun in my cab. The train coming in apparently had its headlights on in the rear. That seems like a little bit of a buggy thing. And I seem to be seeing the yellow signal on this signal from behind, which is very interesting. I don't know if that's what it is. So I am coming in slowly because I have plenty of time to make this stop. So there's no reason to rush in. As we only have 4 cars now, we have much better stopping potential at these platforms. We're going to try to get to the end of the platform. I'm sure I missed a 4-car stop point somewhere, but I want to get to the end of the platform, so I'm coasting at 8 kilometers per hour. I'm going to go ahead and reapply the brakes a little bit. A little more here would be nice. Good enough. Welcome to Schnabelwaid, ladies and gentlemen. Leaving Schnabelwaid, our next stop is Creußen. Our departing speed limit is 100 and, well, it said 120, but it's actually 110 kilometers per hour. I thought it said 120 for a second there. I may have simply misread that. We're going to actually turn that throttle off for a moment. I'm a little concerned about this downhill gradient up ahead. Putting a small amount of power on right now, but I'm actually gaining speed on this downhill gradient. This is concerning me. 14.7% or 14.7 gradient. I need to actually apply some brake power to make sure we don't... Oh, that's going to change now. We just flattened out. So much for that. But we're still going to be going downhill. It's going to be quite a downhill. Yeah, here it is. This seems like as good a time as any to address the passengers, don't you think? Ding dong. Attention all passengers. Reminder that pulling the emergency brake while the train is moving is punishable if not for a valid reason. It is a finable offense. And if you do it while we're in a single track, I will personally triple that fine and spank you silly. Thank you. So I've gone ahead and brought my speed down to 101, which I was not intended, but because the station's right there, it seems like a good idea at the time. So we're going to actually start increasing the brakes a little bit now because we are on a downhill. And I don't know if we have a special speed restriction ahead. If we do, we're going to be slamming those brakes. We're very early. There's no special speed restriction, but we're still going to slam those brakes because we're very early. Good reason, in my opinion, to do that. We're only a kilometer from the station. We can easily go down to 60 kilometers an hour. It's not an issue. We're now on not quite flat ground, but at least not as bad of a downhill. It is a downhill. I can see the decimals are going up a little bit. So we're going to keep that brake application on. Everything's green, so no issues. 10:32 is our arrival time. We got an extra 10 seconds on that, looks like. And it's only 10:30. So we've got about 100 seconds to make this stop. I'm keeping a small brake application applied coming into Creußen. This is actually a reasonable speed for me to be going right now in the platform. I can apply the brake application further anytime now because I am fully in the platform, but I still want to get to the end of the platform if I can. Simply because that gives me more time for the next timing, the final timing, to not have to cover that ground at the same departure time. Apparently I was supposed to stop right there. I just saw the T. So that was my stop point. This is going to be a bit of an awkward stop. I think this is supposed to be an abandoned part of the platform, guys. That might be an error. In any case, arrival at Creußen, and this departure picture is going to look really weird. Leaving Creußen, our next and final stop is Bayreuth. We're departing the station at 110 kilometers per hour. We are going to be dropped to a 100 kilometer per hour section up ahead. And I believe there's a 90 in this section up ahead as well. So this is going to be a much tighter section of the route than the other ones. Even the first one, which I made a little tighter than it should have been because I was getting used to the train. So even considering that, this is still going to be probably the tightest section of the route, aside from that. I may have enough room to get the speed over 100 just briefly, but I'm going to have to bring the brakes on as soon as I do. We're going to take advantage of a few seconds here where we can get this extra speed. We're not going to take it all the way to 110, I don't think. Maybe we are. Interesting, I almost got there. But now I'm going to put the brakes on immediately. We are on a little bit of a downhill, so I want to get down to... That's where I want to be, 97. So I can take the brakes off now, and I can coast for a moment at this 97 speed. There is indeed a 90 coming up. So we'll need to keep that in mind. At some point, the downhill that we're on is going to claim some of our speed again. It seems to be going to an 8.3 gradient at this point. We are indeed gaining speed. So 1A brake will be enough to counteract some of this speed. We have no special instructions on this signal up ahead. So we're just going to go ahead and drop to the 90 as far as we know at this point. I don't know of any kind of 40 or anything like that. The signals would indicate if there was a reduction in speed. I don't see anything like that. So we're going to go assuming that that's not the case. I'm down to 90 for right now. That's good for the time being, so I can still gain speed for right now. In fact, there's going to be a slight uphill gradient coming up here, so that's going to actually cause us to have to increase our power again. I've applied a hold power setting so I can increase as needed, and we'll start doing that now a little bit. Everything is green, so we can proceed. We have a track split there. As we're about to enter the 90 kilometer per hour section. However, because we now see the decimals, I don't mind being closer to the speed limit because I can manage the use the power to manage that decimal. So that is better for me running near the speed limit. As long as I don't stop paying attention to that. As soon as we hit the 110 limit up ahead, I'm going to be keeping a couple under again, just for safety's sake. Especially in this downhill gradient section that's coming up. So I'm going to turn it right off for a moment because I want to make sure I don't gain too much speed here before I'm ready to go to 110. And even when I do put some speed on for this 110, I'm probably going to have to put the speed on and then release the throttle completely and let the downhill then do the job. Yeah, this is a 12.2. This is a very steep downhill gradient. You can see the brakes do go back at the exact, roughly the exact same reduction that I was gaining in the first place. Now I can go to 110, so now I'll put a little bit of power on for right now. But after I cross 100, I'm probably going to turn it right off unless the gradient changes. It has not changed, so right off we go. I did not mean to move to decrease brake there. Gradient is starting to go off, but we're only to a 9.8. I'm probably going to need more brakes here. Yeah, I'm going to definitely keep the brakes. Normally I would go 2 under the limit, but with the speed on the downhill, I'm kind of using that as my maximum speed right now. So because I have to make sure the brakes are applying properly. So I'm going between 107 and 108 right now. That seems safest. I could put a little throttle on and just brake and just keep a small brake applied through that throttle. But A, I don't think that's correct driving style, and B, I don't feel like trying to fine-tune that in the final leg of the journey. So we're going to do what we can here. I tried to apply a brake, it didn't go into running. See, this is why I don't want to travel right at the speed limit. Now, given we're going to be coming into the final station stop, I wonder if we're going to have to be reduced to something like a 60 coming in the station. I would not be surprised to see that. Could even be a 40 coming in the station. We'll see how much time we have, and if I have the time, I'll just bring it down to 40 anyway. We are less than 3.5 kilometers from the station, so it's going to show up on the HUD in about a kilometer or so. Less than a kilometer. We are approaching the end of our journey. There it is. Bayreuth. I actually might have more time than I thought, so I might actually put the brakes on a little earlier. We'll find out. I didn't mean to keep the brakes on for that period of time, though. Here's a warning board. This might actually benefit me if I did that. Or because I did that. That is a definite change in signal. Okay, we're going to do something for this next signal. It might just be lowering to 100, but it could also be lowering to 60. I'm not sure. I'm going to go down to 60 just to be safe. I don't feel safe staying at 100 right now. It could even be a 40, but I'm banking on a 60. I think that was a 60. I think a double yellow is 40. The yellow green I think is 60. Apparently I was a little early for that. I need to be down at 40 for the next signal anyway, because that's going to be our stopping section, obviously. We've got a minute and change to make this stop. Let's not mess up the last stop today. Not how I want to end a scenario. Let's get it down to 40 and make sure we stop. I'm going to have to come in the station at a more forwards pace of speed right now. Because if I don't, I'm not going to make my timing just crawling in this time. Are we going to be coming in at 110 the whole way? Oh, that is unexpected. That can't be the case. No, there's the 60. I knew it was going to be coming to 60. Okay, so I could have actually stayed a little higher in speed. So if you do this scenario, you can stay a little higher in speed and you can get there faster than I did. I should still be on time. I just have to stop anywhere in the platform, and I'm going to stop about halfway along the platform, I think. So, brakes. And here is Bayreuth Station on both sides. We're going to go ahead and put a level 5 brake at this time. That'll do the job. I'm going slightly further than I intended. Actually, no, right where I wanted to be. I'm right where I wanted to be. There are cars in the platform. Well, that's interesting. Arrival at Bayreuth, platform number 1. Let's look at our train as we finish the scenario. The thing is, a little education will do, ladies and gentlemen. That sandwich over there is gross. Gross! I think it's just the translation of big. In any case, scenario completed. First drive in the 612. That train is a lot smoother than I expected it to be. I actually found that somewhat enjoyable. Oh, that's actually a fun little drive once you get used to it. It's a little bit getting used to the increase-decrease throttle mechanism, but once you have that down, if you can manage that and fine-tune your speed to that, that can make for a fun little drive. And managing that brake on the other throttle instead of using the one that's applied to the throttle itself, on the other control, I mean, not on the throttle, that actually adds a little bit of ability to maintain your speed on the hill in a way that is more realistic than just putting it on the same throttle brake. Well done, driver. We arrived on time and ensured that our passengers can make their onward connections. And that's what we were here to do. So the onward connections from Bayreuth to wherever, I don't have the information in front of me yet, which I will look up in the future, I'm fairly sure, as I do more of this route. But for right now, all we need to know is that we got to Bayreuth. We saw the entire route. That was the entire route, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah, let's just see how we did on the scenario, and that's all there is to say about that. And then we can look forward to our next scenario. And already our first achievement, the Northbound Valley Express, has been completed. 750 points or better. That was not an issue. I certainly expected to have a worse time on the first scenario with a new train like this, but that was fun. And next time we get to check out the 648. Now, you might be saying, well, we're not doing that route yet. The 648 is included with this route. If you go back to the starting screen, you're going to see that, or the menu screen, you're going to see that scenarios 2 and I believe 4 have the 648, and the iced tea again is on scenario 6, whereas this one is every other scenario. So we're going to see this train again. I think we're going to do the next scenario for this train on Tuesday. That's scenario number 3. I think I like that. I want to do another scenario in this train. So we're going to do that on Tuesday, I think. But tomorrow, I need to look at the 648. It was included with the, I know it's a Nord something. I don't remember what the route is, but it was a Nord something. It came with Train Simulator 2022, I believe, that bundle. And we're going to see the train in this route as well for 2 scenarios. And I do have to go back to that route and play that route at some point as well to look at more of the 648. I've been meaning to do that route. I'm actually looking forward to tomorrow's scenario because the 648 is a train that actually runs in Ottawa, Ontario, I believe. I think that is one of the trains that runs in Ottawa, Ontario. 3 648s, one of which I think was damaged. Unfortunately, is gone now, so it's just 2. And they are now getting some flirt models as well, which may be in operation now. That was supposed to open in 2022 again with the new extension. I don't know what the status of that is. I can talk about that another time. But I'm excited about the 648 just because that train runs here in Ontario on the only German route. Or on the only PZB route, on the only German signaling type route in Ontario. So, I'm excited to see this train next time. I hope you are too. I'll see you for that. I'm psyched. Have a wonderful day, evening, or night, whatever it is for your part of the world. Make sure you like this video and subscribe. It is free. So hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you know when I post something. You can come see what I'm doing. And if you decide you don't want to see that day's video, you can just move on to something else. That's perfectly fine. I understand. But in any case, I do hope to see you for the next journey. Looking forward to this one myself. I'm going to probably be really excited about this one. I'm Cyclone. See you for that. Bye-bye.